March 11, 2011, 2:46 p.m. A 9-year-old boy is sitting in his third-grade classroom in Rikuzen, Takata, Japan. Then the ground starts shaking. The earthquake lasts 6 minutes. 6 minutes that feel like an eternity. But the earthquake isn't the worst part. 30 minutes later, a wall of water, over 50 feet high, comes crashing into his coastal hometown. When the water recedes, over 80% of Rikuzen, Takata is gone, wiped off the map, including his house, his father, his grandparents, gone. That 9-year-old boy's name? Roki Sasaki. And what he did with that pain? That's the story we're telling today. This isn't just another baseball story. This is about how tragedy forged one of the most dominant pitchers in the world. Today, Roki Sasaki is a World Series champion with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He throws 102 miles per hour fastballs and has a splitter that drops off a table. He threw a perfect game with 19 strikeouts. He's been called the monster of the Reiwa era. But before all of that, he was just a kid who lost everything. And baseball became his salvation. This is the story of how Roki Sasaki turned pain into power, how he went from evacuee to elite, how he became baseball's coldest killer. Let's break it down. March 11, 2011, the Great East Japan Earthquake, 9.1 magnitude, the most powerful earthquake in Japan's recorded history. Roki Sasaki was in the 3rd grade at Takata Elementary School. He'd been playing baseball for about a year, tagging along with his older brother Ryuki to practices with the local Takata Baseball Sports Boys Club. When the earthquake hit, Sasaki and his classmates were evacuated to higher ground. They spent the night in a temporary shelter, separated from their families. His mother Yoko was in the neighboring town of Ofunato for work when the tsunami struck. She couldn't reach her sons. She didn't know if they were alive. The next day she found them. All 3 of her boys, Roki and his 2 brothers, were safe. But 3 members of their family were still missing. 5 days later, March 16th, the phone rang. Yoko answered. The voice on the other end said, "Your family has been found." 9-year-old Roki overheard the conversation. His eyes widened. He thought it was good news. But adults understand what found means after a tsunami. It doesn't mean alive. His father, Kota Sasaki, was 37 years old. He was beloved in their community, a man who always bragged about his son's baseball talent, a father who played catch with Roki in their yard. Kota was gone. So were Roki's paternal grandparents. Their house, completely destroyed, swept away by the tsunami. The family of 7 was now a family of 4, living in a nursing home as evacuees. Today, there's a memorial in Rikuzen, Takata, black granite with 1,709 names carved into it, the victims of the tsunami. On the second row of the 24th column, listing victims from the 16th ward, you'll find one name, Kota Sasaki. Roki was 9 years old, and his entire world had just disappeared. Before we continue, if you're invested in this story, if you want to hear how Roki Sasaki turned this tragedy into greatness, hit that subscribe button right now. We're Foul Ball, and we tell the stories behind baseball's biggest names that nobody else is telling. Stories of resilience, of comebacks, of the human side of the game. Don't miss what happens next. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Now back to Roki's journey. 2012, 1 year after the tsunami. The Sasaki family moved to Ofunato, about 10 miles up the coast from Rikuzen, Takata. They lived in cramped temporary housing. The baseball field? A weed-covered riverbed. No lights, no proper facilities. But Roki joined the Inokawa Baseball Club anyway. Team practice started at 4 p.m. after school. But here's the thing. There were no lighting facilities, so after sunset, the field was pitch black. You know what they did? Parents painted baseballs with orange fluorescent paint. They lined up their cars and turned on the headlights to illuminate the field. And under those makeshift lights, Roki Sasaki practiced every single day. Years later, Sasaki would say, "I have a negative side, so there were times when I was sad, but baseball distracted me from my feelings. I had the most fun when I was playing baseball. Thanks to the time I could devote to baseball, I was able to do my best even when times were tough or difficult." Baseball became his coping mechanism, his escape, his purpose. In 2013, when Sasaki was in 6th grade, he played in the first Rias League tournament at Zozo Marine Stadium. It was a youth baseball tournament created specifically for kids who lost their grounds in the earthquake. Roki's team won the championship, the first ever champions, and people started noticing this kid with glasses, this quiet, sensitive boy who could pitch. His coach, Tomoyuki Murakami, who would later become president of Sasaki's fan club, said, "Roki was outstanding in all sports tests." But there was something deeper driving him, something beyond just being good at baseball. In 2020, Sasaki would say, "Everything that I have now can disappear in an instant. As a person who is alive, I think I have to do my best to live on behalf of people who lost their lives. Read that again. Live on behalf of people who lost their lives. He wasn't just playing for himself. He was playing for his father, for his grandparents, for the 1,709 people on that memorial. That's the kind of purpose that turns good players into great ones. By high school, Roki Sasaki wasn't just good. He was exceptional. He attended Ofunato High School. Not because it was a baseball powerhouse, it wasn't, but because he wanted to stay with his teammates, the guys who had been there with him through everything. And then, during a high school tournament, something insane happened. Sasaki threw a fastball clocked at 101 miles per hour, 163 kilometers per hour. That broke the Japanese high school record. And you know whose record he broke? Shohei Ohtani's. Suddenly, every MLB team in the world knew his name. The monster of the Reiwa era, they called him. A once-in-a-generation talent. 2019, the Nippon Professional Baseball Draft. 4 teams tried to select Sasaki. The Chiba Lotte Marines won the lottery and took him first overall. But here's what's remarkable. To protect his arm, the Marines didn't let him pitch in a professional game for an entire year. They held him back in 2020 to make sure he was ready. May 16, 2021, Sasaki made his NPB debut. He was 19 years old. In his first season, he posted a 2.27 ERA with 68 strikeouts in just 11 appearances. But 2022, that's when he became a legend. April 10, 2022, Zozo Marine Stadium, Chiba Lotte Marines versus the Oryx Buffaloes. Roki Sasaki, age 20, takes the mound. First inning, 3 batters, 2 groundouts, 1 strikeout. Second inning, 3 strikeouts. Third inning, 3 more strikeouts. Fourth inning, 3 more strikeouts. By the end of the 4th inning, Sasaki had struck out 10 batters in a row, a new NPB record. The crowd was on their feet for every single pitch. 5th inning, 3 more batters retired. 6th inning, same thing. 7th inning, still perfect. 8th inning, still perfect. 9th inning. The stadium is electric. 44,742 fans holding their breath. First batter, strikeout. Second batter, strikeout. Third batter, Yutaro Sugimoto, the Pacific League home run leader. 2 strikes. Sasaki throws a 102-mile-per-hour fastball. Sugimoto swings and misses. Perfect game. 19 strikeouts, tying the NPB single-game record. 13 consecutive strikeouts, a new world record. The first perfect game in NPB in 28 years. And Sasaki was only 20 years old. After the game, all he said was, "This is the greatest." Honestly, I wasn't thinking about the possibility. I figured it would be okay if I gave up a hit. So I just pitched and put my trust in my catcher right until the end. If this story is giving you chills, you need to subscribe to Fall Ball right now. We bring you the deep dives, the untold stories, and the moments that make baseball more than just a game. Hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if Roki Sasaki's journey is inspiring you. And make sure notifications are on so you never miss our next video. Trust us, you don't want to miss what's coming. Now, let's talk about the most emotional moment of his career. March 11, 2023, 12 years to the day since the tsunami took his father and grandparents. Roki Sasaki was in Tokyo, representing Japan in the World Baseball Classic. And guess what? He was the starting pitcher that day, against the Czech Republic, at Tokyo Dome, in front of 64 MLB scouts and executives. Before the game, Japan's manager Hideki Kuriyama said something powerful about Sasaki's performance. It was about more than just the speed he was throwing. It was like he was putting his soul into every pitch. Sasaki threw 3.2 innings, 8 strikeouts, 1 unearned run, triple-digit fastballs. Japan won 10-2. But it was what the performance meant that mattered most. On the 12-year anniversary of the day he lost everything, Roki Sasaki stood on the biggest stage in international baseball and dominated. For his father, for his grandparents, for Rikuzen Takada. Masahiro Osada, a family friend and restaurant owner in Rikuzen Takada, said it perfectly. Even after the tsunami, he's been showing dreams to the people of Rikuzen Takada. That's why I want to support him. Japan would go on to win the 2023 World Baseball Classic. Sasaki earned a gold medal. And back in Rikuzen Takada, the entire city watched with pride. Because Roki Sasaki wasn't just a baseball player, he was their hope. January 22, 2025, Roki Sasaki signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers, $6.5 million signing bonus. Because he was under 25, international rules meant he could only sign a minor league contract, a bargain for one of the best young pitchers in the world. Baseball America and MLB.com both ranked him as the #1 prospect in all of baseball entering 2025. His MLB debut, March 19, 2025. Tokyo Series against the Chicago Cubs. In Japan, homecoming. But his rookie season wasn't smooth. He struggled early, command issues. A shoulder impingement in May put him on the injured list for 4 months. When he came back in September, the Dodgers moved him to the bullpen, a role change he initially resisted. But then something clicked. Mechanical adjustments, watching old high school film of himself, finding that delivery that made him dominant. And in the postseason, Roki Sasaki became a completely different pitcher. He recorded his first professional save in Game 1 of the NLDS against the Phillies, then another save in Game 2. In Game 4, he threw 3 perfect innings in relief. 9 batters, 9 outs. The Dodgers won the 2025 World Series, and Roki Sasaki, the kid who lost everything at age 9, was a World Series champion. 10 innings pitched in the playoffs, 0.84 ERA, 1 earned run, 10 strikeouts, ice in his veins, calm under pressure, baseball's coldest killer. So, what's the secret? How did Roki Sasaki turn unspeakable tragedy into greatness? It's because he understood something most people don't, that life is fragile, that everything can disappear in an instant. He said it himself, "Everything that I have now can disappear in an instant. As a person who is alive, I think I have to do my best to live on behalf of people who lost their lives." That's not just motivation, that's purpose. Every time Roki Sasaki steps on the mound, he's not just pitching for himself. He's pitching for his father, who never got to see him play in the majors, for his grandparents, for the 1,709 people memorialized on that black granite wall in Rikuzen Takata. And that's what makes him different. That's what makes him cold-blooded. That's what makes him a killer on the mound. Because when you've survived the worst day of your life at age 9, a bases-loaded situation in the World Series doesn't scare you. Nothing scares you. If Roki Sasaki's story moved you, do us a favor. Subscribe to Foul Ball right now. We tell the stories that matter, the human stories behind the stats. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and tell us, what part of Sasaki's journey inspired you the most? Was it the perfect game, the World Series, or the way he honors his father's memory every time he pitches? We want to hear from you. And make sure you're subscribed with notifications on, because we've got more incredible stories coming your way. This is Foul Ball, where we don't just talk baseball, we talk about the people who play it, and the journeys that made them who they are. We'll see you in the next one.